I'm going to flame Demon 1 a lot in this video, but this video is not specifically targeting Demon 1 as a player. The reality is that every single time that I've seen Veto played in 2026 so far, it's been lackluster to terrible. So I'm going to watch Envy get absolutely destroyed by Lev, and I'm going to critique how Demon 1 uses the agent and give some suggestions on how I think the agent should be played differently. So let's get into round number 1, and I already have a problem. Yes, Demon 1 did just start the map off with a great headshot using the Sheriff, but he has no other utility to work with, and that means that he's going to get traded here, and there's nothing he can do about it. He does have the Interceptor set up to counter, I guess, a Neon stun, but the reality is that in the current meta and just in general, Veto gets a lot more value on being able to get a pick and get out, or hold multiple lanes at once than he does just being able to tap a shot. You'd probably get this kill with a bandit, and you'd probably get the same kill with a ghost as well. And being able to also have a teleport placed either here or here to escape immediately would be a lot more valuable than instantly getting traded. If he wants to play this angle, he can still put a teleport right here, which is going to give him the ability to play anywhere in dish. And if he wants to fall back into A site, he can do the same thing with a teleport into upper. Or if he wants to tuck behind here, or even just put this in drop, any of those placements of a teleport will work. I think personally, especially on a map like Fracture where there's 4 lanes, I would likely start here, and I would begin the round by instantly throwing a trip to dish, and then I would jiggle this, and then I hold both lanes at the same time while my team stacks 4 on the other side of the map. That's what I would do personally. So yes, he gets a nice kill, but he's going to lose the site. You can see he's alone, and
Ooh, they don't want
popping
to
the
start Demon 1
interceptor is
is
not going to
traded
do
back with
much.
Spike.
Okay, so first rifle round, let's critique Demon 1's setup real quick. We can see that he has actually put the trip on the A side of the map on dish, and then he is playing on B with 2 teleports set up as different fallback options. So this one is quite nice because it extends all the way into tower. So if he does end up walking up into here or playing in tower, there's a small sliver right here that allows you to teleport all the way into spawn. And then this teleport, I don't really understand. It basically has the exact same coverage as this one in terms of places that you could play, but it makes you fall back into probably a worse spot. Like if they're rushing you here, you're just teleporting into sight where they're going to run you down. I would much rather just fall back into safety most of the time, or I guess another option would be to teleport into tower if you wanted to play in that area. This teleport doesn't make any sense to me. Another option you could have is chain the 2 teleports together. So you're playing like this. You got 1 teleport here, so you can quickly rotate from maybe an advanced position in arcade, boom, and then you could have a second teleport if you wanted to have a faster rotation that you just immediately take like this, or you could put this, partway through your rotation so you can go quickly from one side of the map to the other. Honestly, I would probably just pocket this one and then use it for something later. I don't think you have to place both teleports every single time that you start the round, because you can kind of use one like an Omen teleport at times if you need to get out of a sticky situation or improvise on the fly. Okay, so we're in an eco round now, and I have another problem with Demon 1's buy. He goes for a Sheriff so that he can hit those sweet, sweet headshots. I don't mind this necessarily, but I think you should probably be buying the trip in every single round just because of how good this ability is at getting you information. An extra 200 credits, maybe going for a bandit if that's sort of like the break point as far as the economy goes, is probably worth it, because at the very beginning of the round, you could just throw this trip out here, get information on whether anybody is on the B side of the map, or you could throw it down here if it gets shot or catches people. Again, quick information. You're on an eco round. The best thing you can possibly do is get a stack in the right spot, and having extra information is always good for that. Okay, so we're on another rifle round, and there's a few things that I want to point out. First of all, Demon 1 is one off of Evolution. That's a great ability, especially against a team that has like a bunch of stuns, a bunch of disabling utility, some ultimates, some very powerful kind of projectile abilities, lots of utility that can flush out of sight. I think prioritizing this ultimate is probably a good idea. That's number 1. And number 2, I think one of the most counterintuitive parts about playing Veto is that a lot of the time you actually don't want to put your setup down at the beginning of the round. And the reason for that is because it's so modal and you can be so flexible with kind of like how you're using, especially your trip, interceptor, and stuff like that. Putting both or all of your utility down before the round starts is almost always a mistake. So we see interceptor placed beforehand, trip placed right here. I hate this trip because it can be avoided completely if they just come in through sands every single time. And so I think that if you're going to trip A main, you basically always have to start in A main or find a lineup that is going to land like here. Because otherwise, you're just allowing them to get into one of the lanes, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Um, Also, if you were to take this trip and you kind of clear out the top side of the map, you could always just chuck it out here, and then you have much more advanced space, or even you could throw it here, anything like that, just to get extra value, extra information, extra space using your trip instead of just putting it right on barrier, which again, literally could just be a chamber trip. So we're going to see what ends up happening is they end up flashing out here. They try to go for some sort of kind of weird crunch for top side of the map. Again, if this trip was pocketed, he could drop this trip out here and then teleport and leave. He also doesn't pick up the ultimate orb. So now the ultimate orb is right here. Like, he doesn't pick it up. So he has no ult to go into what is going to be a retake where he's going to need to probably, tank some flashes and stuff to have any impact. Again, I think especially on a map like Fracture, it's totally worth going for stuff like double teleport chains where you can skip from like this part of the map to here and then skip to here just so you can rotate faster, because obviously this is a map that's very attacker sided, especially with the comps that are being played. And so being able to make an instant rotation to help your teammate on the other side of the map is pretty valuable. I don't think it's the best way to use the teleports all the time, but I think it's definitely useful, especially if you're getting run down like Envy is currently. Okay, so I wasn't planning on criticizing every single round, but that's what's happening. So Demon One does go ahead and use the ult at the start of the round. I think that's good. I think generally speaking, when you have evolution, you should usually just pop it because it's very powerful. But you should probably call around the ability. And this is one of the better sort of like skirmishing fighting abilities in the game, because obviously you're not affected by utility. So you can literally just get stunned by your own breach and run through the stun and then kill the person on the other side of the stun. Um, and obviously you don't get, counter utiled by the enemy, and you heal constantly. So you're really good at taking, gunfight after gunfight after gunfight. So having Veto be a solo anchor, especially on aggressive map like Fracture, to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I think he would be much better with the pack using this ability, and then you could just, full on fight with your team. And get more value instead of just kind of being on the other side of the map, getting no value, or trying to take a 5v1, which is very unlikely for you to be able to take fight after fight after fight because you're just getting instant traded. Okay, so cool. This is one of those chain teleport situations. We can see at the beginning of the round, Demon One has one teleport here. He's going to try and take some arcade space, teleport into spawn, and then teleport across. So that is good that he has that tech in his pocket. I think, generally speaking, that this trip can always be placed a little bit better instead of on barrier at B stairs. You could start here in arcade and then instantly throw it, and it will land a little bit deeper, just to kind of min-max stuff. Or again, I think it's also fine to potentially pocket it, especially if you have somebody already playing over here listening for sound. And then as you come out and take some extra space, you can drop your trip deeper if you want to, and then teleport over here to come play help on stairs or rotate, obviously. So we see Demon One make the quick little teleport, hop over there. Doesn't pick up his interceptor, a little bit of a minor thing, but at least he's here for the fight, and you can see that being able to rotate very quickly has quite a bit of benefit. Demon One gets 3 kills, and he wouldn't have been able to do that without the double teleport chain. Okay, I have another problem. There's an operator being played by Envy. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be on the Veto, but I think that usually you should probably try to give the Opper an interceptor, because one of the best things that you can do against Oppers is throw utility at them or throw a drone at them. And if there's an interceptor guarding the Opper, that means that the Opper is in a much stronger position because it's much harder to util them off an angle. So generally speaking, I would say that the Veto should probably be babysitting the Neon to the point that he wants to play, drop the interceptor there, and then go do something else. So the fact that he just has it kind of placed, again, pre-barrier behind himself with the op on the other side of the map is just not a very good use of Veto as an agent. Okay, so on to another round, we've got Demon One anchoring the B site by himself. We've got all the utility placed again, the trip, both teleports. Again, I don't really understand this one. And then we have the interceptor placed as well, pre-barrier. I think this is fine in this case because it is going to be guarding him. We've seen him try to do the setup a few times, and it just hasn't really been run into yet. So we'll get to see the value of this interceptor protecting this position. And another thing that is good about this is one of the hard parts about Veto is that his teleport is kind of clunky to use, and you have to be kind of careful with where you put it because you have to look at the teleport to activate. And so this position is actually really nice based on where he's playing because it's kind of in the same line of sight, which means that he's not going to have to do some like crazy, 360 or 180-degree flick to actually activate the teleport. So he's going to be able to peek, get a pick, and then basically instantly look at the teleport and teleport to escape the position. And that's exactly what we're going to see happen here. Peeks out, and then again doesn't have to move very far to actually do the teleports. And so not everything that we're seeing in this video is bad. And basically every single time that we have seen a like good setup from Demon One, something that actually makes sense, he's had quite a bit of impact, right? We had the 3K off the chain teleport at A, and then we've had a nice little solo setup here with an easy escape plan that has gotten value in this round. Okay, so before we get into this round, there's a couple things that I want to point out. It's another evolution round. It's another round where Demon One is alone. On the other side of things, we have a Waylay ult, we've got a Breach ult, and we have a Neon ult, and you're one off of a Brimstone ult as well. So that is a huge amount of very impactful utility that you could potentially be countering with evolution. And that means that you should be doing absolutely everything in your power to have this character be at the site that gets hit, which means that I would probably lean away from doing some sort of like bunkered anchor setup on B. And I would probably just have like wherever I play, I want chain teleports to the other side of the map so that I can get there as quickly as possible. And then obviously, I again think that trying to put him in a position to take fights is probably better. So not always having a 4-1 setup when you have evolution would be a lot more beneficial to getting value out of this. And so ultimately, the round does get to a point where it's in a pretty good position for this Veto. He's got all of the enemy team coming at him with all that utility, and he actually has quite a few teammates around him to come help fight. Unfortunately, he is a little bit too slow on the teleport, a little too greedy, gets shortied, and evolution gone. Veto value completely lost. Okay, so going into the attack side, the theory is really going to get exposed, I assume, because it's a little bit more complicated to play Veto on attack than it is on defense. And we can already see, I don't love this. We just have a trip placed on the ground. This could be any trip. We could easily throw this much deeper for information. We could keep it in our pocket and place it a lot more kind of reactively to hold space behind us. This super basic trip makes me pretty sad because, while it will catch people flanking behind us, there's just so much more that you can do with this ability. I am glad that he did buy it. He's got a ghost and he's got a trip. That's cool. Better than having a sheriff, in my opinion. Okay, so we're into the first rifle round on the attack side, and I'm pretty sad by what I'm looking at as far as the setup goes. We're in a 4-1 again. We've got a trip placed pre-barrier on the ground. This could be a chamber trip or literally any other sentinel utility. And we have our Veto teleport placed behind us as well. This is going to be a very, very hard escape teleport if you're trying to run out and then like 180 and teleport back here. It's not going to go very well. This does not function like a chamber teleport at all. So this is not going to get very much value if there are people fighting down B. I think this is something that also makes Veto a little bit difficult to play because honestly, you kind of need to think of these as like a hybrid between a chamber teleport and an omen teleport. And so when you're using teleports on attack, I think it's probably better to frame them more like an omen teleport, just because the reality is you're not going to be able to quick react to a fight in front of you to teleport back to a teleport behind you. And so this teleport probably is not going to get very much value. One thing that you can do if you're in a 4-1 like this is you can place one teleport here. I know that he doesn't have money for this in this particular round, but if you're defaulting like this, you've got 4 people over here and you're alone on B, and you want to get a little bit sneaky, tricky, get a little bit closer information, you can put one teleport down at the start of the round and then throw your other teleport across like this, and then teleport to the box, and then you've got kind of a weird little off lurk angle. And then if you ever get pressured or you hear them running you down, you can always teleport back because it's still in range. So this is something you can do over here. I also like the idea of, again, pocketing your trip and then maybe throwing it at the start of the round to get a little bit of extra value. You don't want to throw it like here because it'll just get shot, but, throw it around the corner like this, or throw it across like this or something like that. Or, even just a little bit forward up to here is better than just being on barrier. And if you do want to start towards the B side, it's even better to still just pocket the trip and then just throw it a little bit past the barrier so you get a little bit of even more forward information. It basically is just almost always better to start off by throwing your trip than just placing it on the ground pre-barrier. And I guess one other thing that I want to bring up about this 4-1 is that, especially on a map where people are constantly brawling, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to have Veto be alone, because you're not going to get very much value out of the interceptor. It would be so much better if you're trying to aggressively take space to have an interceptor to protect your players. And so we're basically going to see him get 0 value out of this on attack. So after a slow start to the round, Envy gets grouped up, and it looks like they're probably going to commit to the B side of the map. I feel like this is a decent place to drop an interceptor because, you know, you're getting into dangerous territory, and yes, you don't really want to make noise, but basically, if you're going to move any farther forward, I think you have to place the interceptor because there's likely going to be counter utility coming at you. And if you get util dumped here, you probably lose the round. So let's see what happens. Okay, interceptor's still in pocket. Stun gets thrown. Interceptor's still in pocket. Interceptor's still in pocket. Fighting has happened. They know that we're here. I guess we're saving the interceptor for retake utility if we get on site, maybe. But they have to get on site to use it. I feel like it's probably too thin of a use case to only use it for retake utility. So just anywhere that there's like a good place to stage a fight probably is a good spot to use the interceptor. And again, that's kind of why I don't think it should be 4-1 with Veto alone all the time, because he's much better with the pack on attack, in my personal opinion. Okay, so potentially last round of the map, and looks like Envy's adjusted. They brought the Veto with the pack. Okay, this is good. Places the interceptor at sort of the staging place for their fight. That's also good. And they are going to get the site for free, it looks like. The interceptor's not really going to get any value. That's fine. They get on site. And it looks like they did a good thing with Veto, and they're going to win another round with Veto. So that's cool. Okay, so Envy makes some noise towards B. They go A. Looks like they're in a pretty good spot. Demon 1 finally places his first teleport of the round and then stands right next to it in the doorway. Get in there, son. Like, if you're going to use a teleport, then you should be playing aggressively and using the space that's available to you. And if you're worried about getting into the site, I mean, you could even throw a teleport into the site and use it to cross the space if you're worried about it. This is kind of a weird thing. You know, again, it's very much like chamber coded, and obviously Demon 1 has more chamber matches than basically anybody in VCT. So I can understand where a lot of these habits are coming from, but it's really important to remember this agent is not chamber, and he does not play like chamber in almost any sense. Well, that's it. It's a sad Veto game, as most of them have been. He currently sits at a 45% win rate in 2026 non-mirror. And yeah, it hasn't been pretty, but hopefully after watching this video, you've learned a couple of things and can apply them to make Veto gameplay just a little bit better going forward.